Tadparampariyaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruh Prachodayate Om. Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Swagatam, Vandanam, and welcome back to our session dealing with stress and relaxation. Yesterday we took a look at stress and how once you perceive something to be stressful, the perception of stress, that is where the whole process starts. Once you perceive something as stressful, after that the stress response or the stress reaction kicks in and the hypothalamus takes over. Remember, the hypothalamus would be considered part of the mammalian brain. The reason also is because it is mammals who have the capacity to regulate the body temperature. Reptiles don't have that. That is why reptiles are considered cold-blooded. Mammals are able to regulate the temperature of the body according to the environment. That is where the hypothalamus comes in. So the hypothalamus, the limbic system, these are all part and parcel of what we would call the mammalian brain component. So once the hypothalamus comes in, the stress cascade. The stress cascade starts coming down, the quick acting one through the adrenal medulla, the sympathetic nervous system, the autonomic limb, and the second one is through the neuroendocrine, where the hypothalamus influences the pituitary gland influences the adrenal cortex, and from the adrenal cortex you have cortisol and the other substances. And what does this do? This prepares you for the fight or flight response. Now when there's a threat, that threat you can either fight it or you can run away from it. These are two ways that you can deal with the stress. And Swamiji used to talk of the days when we lived in caves, and one day you come out of your cave in the morning, like this morning. It's a bit overcast. We had quite a rain last night. You come out of your cave in the morning and right outside your door is standing a saber-toothed tiger. A giant saber-toothed tiger. That is definitely worth getting stressed about. Because a saber-toothed tiger is not a pussycat. Okay? It's a saber-toothed tiger. And your life is actually in danger. You are in danger of getting eaten alive. So your stress is totally real. It is not even perceived stress. It's real stress. So what happens is that either you have to run away and escape from that saber-toothed tiger, get out of its way, find a way that you escape it, and after some time your stress response, the stress reaction can all come down. And this is what used to happen. We get stressed, we run away from the stress, and after some time the stressor is not there anymore. We have run away from it. And in the process of running away from it, now at the end of that we come back to normal. That is the parasympathetic nervous system. Once the stressor is not being perceived, the parasympathetic vagal tone comes in. The second response, that was flight, flee, flight. The second one is fight. So you become the superhero that you are and you are going to fight the saber-toothed tiger, get into a fight with it, and you actually put your hand into the mouth of the saber-toothed tiger, reach all the way through its intestine, catch hold of its tail and turn it inside out. Saber-toothed tiger has been killed and you survive for another day. You are the hero, and now you have a saber-toothed tiger skin to prove it also. That is a fight response, and you have fought with that adrenaline, and now after you have fought, you have won, parasympathetic nervous system can kick in, restore normalcy. So either you run away from the threat or you fight the threat, and in both ways the threat doesn't exist anymore. The perception of the threat doesn't exist anymore. Hence you can come back to a normal sense of everything is balanced. There's of course the third option. The saber-toothed tiger eats you up. No stress. You are not there, so there's no stress, right? Finished. And as Swamiji would say, good karma for the saber-toothed tiger, bad karma for you, right? So the saber-toothed tiger had a nice breakfast of a tasty you, and hopefully you were a good breakfast and he didn't have to go looking for somebody else to eat. You are not just a snack, a crispy snack. In this process of getting eaten, a psychological element came into this stress response, and which is called freeze. You just freeze. And many lower animals developed this as a means to counter it, that when the rabbit was getting eaten by a python or a wolf or whatever, that lower animal, a rabbit, a mouse, they would go into the freeze response. And in that freeze response, it was nature's way of enabling that animal not to really have too much pain while it was dying. The freeze response was a response to sort of, you're going to die anyway, but at least die without feeling too much of pain or stress, and you just freeze. Now many people do that. When the stress is there, they just freeze. Now if you're in the middle of the highway and a truck is rushing towards you and you freeze, that's not going to solve your stress. So this is where the issues come, that one has to realize the fight or flight is much more higher response than the freeze. Freeze is a very primitive response. Now, in all of these, what has happened is your body has responded. So, in the stress response, your heart rate is faster, the blood circulation to the body is better, the blood circulation to the digestive system and reproductive system shuts down, because if you are fighting a saber-toothed tiger, no one is thinking about the next meal or having sex at that time. So, these two parts of you sort of shut down. It heightens the neuronal activity. Your eyes dilate so you can see the saber-toothed tiger better. Your breathing is faster so the bronchioles dilate. All of this is geared, the whole stress response is geared to fight or flight. And the relaxation response, which is the counterbalance to this, once the stressor has been dealt with, either you have defeated it or you have run away from it successfully. The relaxation response can kick in and bring things back to normal. So the relaxation response is all about bringing your heart rate down, enhancing the blood circulation to your digestion and reproductive systems, letting the bronchi come back to normal. They were dilated, bringing them back to normal. They call it constriction, which is why we get a bit confused. The eyes start to constrict back to normal. You don't sweat as much. When you are having the stress response, you sweat a lot, so that if something catches you, you slip away. So the sweating is very much a sympathetic response. And the blood flow to the skin is reduced in stress. That is why you have cold, clammy hands. The palms become cold and sweaty. Cold, wet hands are a sign of stress. The relaxation response is of great importance to us in the field of yoga, because modern medicine, despite all its great advances, doesn't have an adequate means of educing the relaxation response. And if you do not relax, you cannot heal yourself. So the healing process, the whole healing process, self-healing, again empowering the individual to heal themselves. What you are doing is you are enhancing the self-healing process, which is why the relaxation component is so vital for renewal, regeneration, recuperation, restoration, repair, and all of these are. Relaxation is important for regeneration, recuperation, rehabilitation, restoration. All of these are dependent on relaxation. And at the most, what we have is anxiolytic drugs which we give people, and then they're supposed to relax. Again, an external disempowering system. I give you a drug to relax rather than enable you to relax. That old story of, if you want to feed a person for a day, give them fish, and if you want to feed them for their lifetime, teach them to fish. Same type of thing. Anxiolytic is for today, but then what do they do tomorrow? They come back for another anxiolytic, and then you have set up the addictive behavior. That is facilitated by yoga is, in my opinion, a humble opinion, a limited opinion, in my opinion, it is the greatest contribution yoga can offer healthcare. Because healthcare has amazing surgical tools. You have done the surgery for the person, but now you have to help them heal, and we don't have anything to help them heal. And this is why if the yoga is brought in before the surgery, maybe during the surgery you can play some music, relaxing music. Maybe have the doctors and nurses relax a bit rather than being uptight about it. And then post-surgery, post-op, in that recovery, right from the time they come into the intensive care unit after the surgery, get them onto some slow, deep breathing, part by part relaxation, and help them heal, get discharged faster from the hospital, reducing the healthcare costs, reducing the load on the human resources in our healthcare system, and reducing the chances of acquired infections, nosocomial infections. We have had some good experience with this at JIPMER and at Mahatma Gandhi Medical College, where very often post-op we have had referrals to go and help the person breathe better, relax better, to help them heal better. One of the innovative aspects of our university, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, is this factor where modern medicine and the yogic approach have come together in a very synergistic, symbiotic manner. The relaxation response is exactly the opposite of the stress response, and to me, it is the stress reaction, but relaxation response, because you are actually choosing to relax. So there is a response for sure. It's not a relaxation reaction. It's a relaxation response because you are choosing. It is coming from your prefrontal cortex, the Ajna chakra, number 6 of responsibility. That is where that whole perspective is coming, that I want to relax. And this is why today I thought I will read out some of Swamiji's teachings from lesson 29 of his Yoga Step by Step. Swamiji tells us, the chapter is entitled Yoga Relaxation, lesson 29 of the 52 lessons. Deep relaxation and yoga are synonymous when we reach the inner phases of yoga. For at this stage, relaxation is not only body relaxation, but also a state where the physical body, the emotions and the mind are all brought up into a high state of conscious relaxation. Please note the two words in the foregoing sentence, up and conscious. The popular idea of relaxation is down and non-conscious. This is where yoga differs from any other system, and in particular differs from drug medication and hypnosis, where outside control is employed. In yoga, the control is turned over to the higher mind. An elevation of consciousness takes place. After a relaxation session, one feels as though they have advanced a step up the ladder of evolution. Physical activities such as asanas, kriyas, and mudras are an excellent way to relieve physical tension. Strained muscles, tense sinews, and stiff joints are all loosened up by regular practice of Hatha Yoga. Much tension exists because of lack of exercise. In doing manual labor, the sugar burned up in the cells of the body leaves a residue of carbon. The friction in the muscles produces lactic acid, which tires the particular muscle group. Often, uric acid can set up in tense parts of the body and in overworked organs. All of this leads to physical tiredness. One does not need sleep or a rest from this kind of tiredness, but a change over to the yoga type of activity. Another demonstration of this is the child who comes home from school very tired. The child does not wish to go to bed, but seeks permission to go out and play, and immediately the tension is gone. Yoga practice offers a better diversion than any other form of activity. When you find yourself tired during the day, try doing a little deep breathing or one or more of the pranayamas we have taught you. See how quickly the tiredness flies. Indeed, it was not tiredness at all, but rather fatigue brought on by carbon dioxide toxicity. If you are a type who awakens in the morning still tired, try doing some pranayama while still lying in bed. If you have slept tense and breathing has been poor during the night, you may be as tired or more tired when you awaken in the morning. Swamiji was mentioning this, and it tells me that sleep apnea is what he was talking about. Let a little pranayama wake you up. Much of the stress and tension that we face in modern life is not real tension. There are no saber-toothed tigers at the door. We are victims of modern anxiety. Most of the tension is implied tension. We are letting things prey on our minds and trade on our emotions. This kind of tension has to be dealt with in a unique way. You can spend a fortune on a psychiatrist who may or may not be able to help you, or you can approach your problem from the yoga standpoint, which is to deal with the source of the problem itself. The source is you. The problems are peripheral. The source is you, the problems are peripheral. Yoga has a unique way of dealing with these tensions and stresses that are stored away in the basal brain, the memory bank. This is called the chitta in yogic parlance. The nervous system and the cells of the body. To be able to fully use the yoga technique, you should understand the ways in which it will be necessary for you to relax. The yoga system views the need for relaxation and its solution in 4 ways. So this is where the fourfold relaxation concept is introduced by Swamiji, which has 4 components: letting down, giving up, giving in, giving over. And these terms often are taken mistakenly to be negative terms. They're actually very positive, as we'll see. Letting down, the first one. This letting down is to deal with one's barriers to the needed advice and help. We often are having a barrier to the needed advice and help. Swamiji says the first part, this letting down is to deal with one's barriers to the needed advice and help, to let down one's prejudices and preconceived ideas and notions about people, things, and ideas, to let down all of the false notions and materialistic idolatry, materialistic idolatry that we have built up in modern living, and in particular to let down from the god of tension, which is virtually deified in the so-called civilized society. We were talking about people holding on to the tension, the stress, because if they don't have the tension and stress, they fall apart. It's deified, as he says, the god of tension, as he calls it. To break away from the superstitions of our social and religious beliefs is not easy to do. These may be needed to support a healthy psyche. Therefore, it is necessary that you find out the truth, stripped of all false belief about your own nature and the nature of the Supreme. Leave off all the fears and anxieties. Gain a positive attitude towards yourself and others. Cultivate the desire for right action when action is called for. So this is the first part entitled letting down. These things I've also brought in my yogic approach to the stress book. Those of you who want to get an e-book, you can go on the ICYER.in. That is the page where the books and other things are there. Please do not order hard copies yet. The postal services are still messing things up, and e-copies are better for now. But there is a book, Yogic Approach to Stress, the latest edition, where a lot of details on this is there. Giving up, the second component. The first one was letting down. You are letting down all the barriers. The second is giving up. It sounds negative, right? But just say this. One has to want to give up the stresses and strains that beset them. This giving up is to give up. This is to give up the stresses and strains. This is lesson 29 of the step by step. Giving up. One has to want to give up the stresses and strains that are besetting them. This does not mean a surrender or a defeat, as popularly suggested by the English term to give up. This giving up is to throw off any weakness which tends to build up to tension. This is to throw off any weakness which tends to build up to tension, and to give off or let off the foolish tensions. To let off the foolish tensions that oftentimes turn us into a smoking volcano. I love Swamiji's phrases. Swamiji and Ammaji have really have so really inculcated this beautiful love for the language. Dr. John Mumford also. These three people in my life. You know, Swamiji talks about, he had talked about the god of tension. Here he talks about, that we need to throw off, give up our tensions and weaknesses, and to give off or let off the foolish tensions that oftentimes turns us into a smoking volcano. Giving up here is a positive process. So the first one was letting down your barriers. Second, giving up the tensions and stresses. The third is giving in. Again, we think of giving in as a negative. These terms have acquired a negative sort of aura these days. To give in the yoga concept of relaxation, is to give in to the dictates of the inner mind, the higher consciousness. You are giving in to the higher mind, the higher consciousness. Again, this is a positive process, and is not the giving in of surrender. There is no negation or abdication of positive action of idea. You are not negating or abdicating responsibility. You are giving in to the dictates of the inner higher consciousness. One has to take up an inner life study. Swadhyaya, to understand what it really means in words. To give in to the inner self. You are giving in to the inner self. In the beginning, it is an intellectual process, highly exciting and satisfying, but it must move beyond the intellectual, ecstatic state to an even more positive, a more transcendental state. So initially it is intellectually you are thinking about it. It must move into a more positive, transcendental state. So the first one, letting down the barriers. Second, giving up the tensions. Third, giving in to the inner consciousness, the higher consciousness, the inner self. And the last one, giving over. The last one is giving over. The giving over of the control of the higher mind to the higher self is the highest and last stage of the fourfold relaxation. This is where the highest attainment of relaxation are achieved, where one can merge into a beautiful, super-conscious higher state of which you are aware but no words can describe. This is where Swamiji talks of being aware of awareness itself. This is happening, that being aware of awareness itself is happening when you give over. It is like a bit of an Ishvara Pranidhana type of state. The Ishvara Pranidhana type of concept is here. Giving over represents the peak of fulfillment. It is like basically like a samadhi state. You could call it a samadhi state. Because here what is happening is you are giving over to something bigger, and when you give over to something bigger, the higher universal consciousness, you don't have duality anymore. Remember, stress springs from duality. Duality leads to fear, fear leads to stress. And here what is happening, you are giving over to the highest, the universal, Ishvara Pranidhana and Atman Prasadanam. At that point, what is happening? The highest self, you are one with it. You are moving from a state of separation to a state of union. A true yoga is happening here. This is why Swamiji says, note at what a low level we had given over. We had given over earlier to bad habits, vices and false ideas. That giving over, which should be to the highest, what we have done is, we had given over to the bad habits, to the vices and the false ideas. He says, at least Judas got 30 pieces of silver when he sold his Christ. Most are willing to sell the consciousness, the Christ, for a huff or a puff or a snort or a jab. This is just so timely today. I didn't know what I was going to read here, okay? I just thought, okay, I'm going to talk of this fourfold conscious relaxation. I'm going to open up Swamiji's correspondence course and just read it. I didn't pre-read it, okay? I'm just reading it now. I didn't pre-read it in that way. And just yesterday, someone sent to me the latest fad of yoga, CBD yoga with, you know what it is, drug. Seriously. CBD helps relaxation, yoga helps relaxation. So CBD yoga. Go on my Facebook account. I coined a new term. Along with COVID-idiot, which are idiots in the times of COVID, we now have yogi-idiots. That is yogic idiots. Idiots in the field of yoga, or who think they are using yoga. Idiots trying to use yoga. Yogi-idiots. That's a new term for today. Yoga-idiot. And seriously, most of us are giving over. We are selling ourselves for nothing. What are we selling ourselves? For plastic. I think this is just so important that we remember this. Thinking about this, letting down, giving up, giving in and giving over, the concept of Ishvara Pranidhana really comes to mind, that the yogic relaxation can only occur, the true yogic relaxation. I'm not talking of lying in Shavasana. We are going to work on a few of these techniques over the next few days. But it is not just lying down and sleeping. Someone asked me yesterday, they said, Dr. Ananda, when I lie down in Shavasana and do Savitri Pranayama, I go to sleep. And what I answered was, let the body sleep. In fact, often in our yoga sessions, we have people who, at the end of the relaxation, others have come out and they are still sleeping. And everybody's like, oh, should we wake them up? And everybody gets a bit embarrassed about it. And usually we say, let that person sleep, because the fact that they are sleeping at the end of relaxation means the body needs it so badly. The body needs the sleep. And so the body is saying, at least now I'm getting a chance to get what I need. So let them have it. And slowly, once the body is satisfied, you will be able to come out of that. In fact, in the BBC Real Marigold Hotel series, they had come to ICYER. And Henry Blofeld, one of the cricket commentators, a very famous cricket commentator, was one of the people who had come. And Henry, during the yoga session, went to sleep and was actually snoring. And you find it in that series. They had about 5.5 minutes at ICYER. And at the end of it, he said, I have not slept on my back for so long. I cannot remember the last time I went to sleep on my back. And he said, I have never felt so relaxed in my life. And this is a man who must be in his 70s, if not even into 80s now. And he says, I've never felt so relaxed after just one session. See, the thing is that when you start to bring these attitudes, it's not just people think at the end of the class, Shavasana. And many people, if you give them 10 minutes of Shavasana at the end of the class, they are like, I paid you to teach me asana, why you are having me lie down and do nothing? They feel they are losing out on it. They don't know what they are losing. Swamiji used to say, if you are doing 50 minutes of the yoga sadhana, the asanas and the pranayamas and all, at the end, that 10 minutes of relaxation, that is where the benefit of all the practices comes into you. The benefits of your whole 50 minutes of practice settles into you during that relaxation. So if you don't relax, the benefits are now going to settle down into you. And seriously, we have no idea what we are doing. If you have a 1 hour session or 1.5 hour session, 1.5 hour, 15, even 20 minutes of relaxation, especially if you are doing the Marmanastanam, the part by part, it could go into 20 minutes for sure. We need to have that. And if it is a shorter class, 7 minutes, the shortest of class, at least 7 minutes is the minimum I would like you to do Shavasana at the end of your yoga practice. Because what happens is then the benefits of whatever you have been doing come and settle into you. So don't skip your Shavasana. That is the message for today. And as Swamiji said, the fourfold, letting down. What do you let down? All your barriers. Giving up. What do you give up? All that tension that you are holding on to. You let go of it. Giving into the inner self. Going in and giving into the inner self. And giving over to the cosmic higher self, that is to the universe itself. And when that happens, you are going to manifest the relaxation response that counters the stress response, enables you to be the best you, enables you to heal, regenerate, recuperate, rehabilitate, and restore. You get restored by yourself to the best you that you can be. Thank you so much for being with me. We'll continue this over the next few days. Hari Om Tat Sat.